5 years ago, if you said India would quietly muscle past Vietnam to become Apple's most important manufacturing partner, people would have laughed. Nobody's laughing now. Here's the number that tells the whole story. In 2023, India had just 14 companies inside Apple's official supply chain. By 2025, that number has exploded to over 40. Vietnam? Still sitting at around 35. Look at that data comparison on screen. India didn't just catch up, it overtook. So what actually flipped the script? One word: geopolitics. After the 2020 Galwan Valley clash between Indian and Chinese troops, the Indian government quietly made it much harder for Chinese companies to operate freely in sensitive sectors. The knock-on effect? Chinese firms now make up less than 10% of Apple's India supplier base, down from somewhere between 15 and 20% before. Now contrast that with Vietnam, where a whopping 37% of Apple suppliers are still Chinese-owned. That's not a supply chain, that's a liability, and Apple absolutely knows it. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about playing it safe politically. Apple assembles iPhones in India. iPhones. The product that drives roughly 50% of Apple's entire global revenue. Vietnam handles iPads, wearables. Important stuff, sure, but not the crown jewel. So India isn't just another stop on Apple's manufacturing tour. It's strategically irreplaceable. Think of it this way. Apple is essentially moving its most important kitchen, the one that cooks its best-selling dish, right here to India. And when a company worth more than most countries commits at that level, it doesn't show up alone. It brings orders, investment, infrastructure, and an entire ecosystem of opportunity that ripples through boardrooms, stock markets, and factory floors across the country. And perhaps the biggest shift of all, India is no longer just the cheap labor option the world used to dismiss. It's becoming a trusted, geopolitically stable manufacturing partner for the world's most valuable company. That's a serious reputation upgrade, and the economic consequences are very, very real. So the big question is, who exactly are these 40+ suppliers now embedded in India's Apple ecosystem? And what does a China-lite supply chain actually look like on the ground? That's exactly what we're getting into next. So we know Apple is moving. The real question is, who in India is actually cashing in right now? Let's get specific. First, meet the EMS players, electronics manufacturing services firms. Think of them as contract chefs. Apple owns the recipe, but these guys run the kitchen. Dixon Technologies and Amber Enterprises are the two biggest names, and both are seeing serious order inflows right now. If you hold shares in either, your portfolio has probably already said thank you. These aren't small wins. When Apple knocks on your door, the volumes are enormous, and the revenue follows. Then there's Tata Electronics, which is building India's largest iPhone assembly plant. And this is where it gets really interesting. Tata isn't just here to assemble phones for a fee. The long game is vertical integration, meaning they eventually want to make the components in-house too, not just bolt them together at the end. That's where the fat margins actually live. But here's what most people miss. It doesn't stop at the headline names. Every time Apple's India output scales up, the entire chain below it gets pulled along. Logistics firms like Blue Dart are moving more shipments. Packaging suppliers are printing more boxes. Warehousing, quality testing, precision tooling. All of it sees a bump. And for anyone watching the markets, Make in India sentiment is already triggering rallies in manufacturing-linked stocks. As foreign direct investment, overseas money, flows into these manufacturing zones, it can even help stabilize long-term bond yields, which is good news for the broader economy. It's a multiplier effect. One big order at the top creates dozens of business opportunities all the way down the chain. Same reason a new highway makes every dhaba and petrol pump along the route busier overnight. So the money is clearly flowing in. But is this a sure thing? Next, we look at the risks. Because nothing this big comes without some serious fine print. But here's where we need to pump the brakes for a second. Because the progress is real, but the full picture is a lot more complicated. India currently adds only 18 to 20% of value to every iPhone assembled here. The target is 35 to 40%. Now think about what that actually means. Imagine a chef who buys pre-chopped, pre-marinated vegetables and just stir-fries them. The stir-fry is real work. But the guy who prepped all those ingredients, he takes most of the money. Right now, India is the stir-fry chef. The high-value stuff. Chips, displays, camera modules. Still comes in from China, Taiwan, South Korea. And the profit from those parts stays abroad. Why the gap? 3 things. 1. India simply doesn't have the semiconductor fabrication muscle China spent 30 years building. 2. Apple needs millions of units at near-zero defect rates, and Indian factories are still developing that precision at scale. 3. Capital costs here are roughly 3 times higher than in China. So setting up precision infrastructure is genuinely expensive. But look at this rising trend. Every single percentage point of localization India gains translates into billions of dollars in retained value. And that's exactly what PLI schemes are designed to accelerate. Here's the real opportunity though, and this is the part entrepreneurs should be writing down. It's not just in assembling the phone. It's in becoming the supplier of those pre-chopped vegetables. Components, precision tooling, testing equipment, specialist packaging. These are the gaps Apple's supply chain needs Indian companies to fill. The businesses building that capability today are the ones who will capture the high margin work tomorrow. The shift has started. The only question left is, are you positioned to ride it? Follow us for more updates like this. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and X.